right, we continue our new series on NEWSY Live where we explore the dark side of digital. Statistics show 93% of Americans use the internet, but what do we really know about how the internet works? You've probably heard the terms deep web, dark web, and they definitely sound like ominous places, but believe it or not, many of us access websites in those spaces almost every day. NEWSY's Stephen Graddick is back with us this afternoon. And Stephen, that might surprise a lot of people. I'm actually on the dark web right now.
Oh,
so, yeah.
How did you get there is the question.
So the way that I understand it is it's just when you hit privacy mode and you can't be traced. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. You know, Veronica, there's this dark web that seems to have a bad reputation, but there's a lot of things that we just don't know. And it's kind of really, really cool. I want to show you this. I spoke with the cybersecurity expert to learn more about what they are doing and how they use them and why there's so many misconceptions about them.
People use deep web and dark web interchangeably, but actually they're two different things.
Understanding both of those can help break down the myths and the misconceptions of the internet's outer limits.
Every person on the internet uses the deep web in some way or another. And most people think about the dark web as this mysterious evil place. There's some plenty of good legitimate use cases of the deep web and even the dark web.
Let's rewind for a little bit. To understand what classifies as the deep web, first, we must look at the surface web.
This is the websites that we use every day. Your Google, Yahoo, news sites, things like that. And if you take it one layer below, we refer to this as the deep web. The content is not really considered dark, but it's invisible to the normal surface web. It's kind of hidden. So the information found on the deep web is normally encrypted.
The deep web reportedly makes up 90% of the internet, and everyone, yes, even you, uses it multiple times a day.
Anytime you log into a personal account, anything that requires authentication with a login and a password, they inherently pose no additional threat to your computer or you or your safety as a large. Most of these pages are kept hidden from the surface web actually to protect your privacy. So in some ways, the deep web is more secure and more private than the surface web.
The dark web is a portion of the deep web, and it's often considered the dark side of the digital space.
We call it dark web, but it's got this negative, incantation. Better named, I like to call it, is the private web. The dark web is a website or network resource that requires the user to use a special encrypted network to access. Your connection is considered anonymous.
Some websites we use every day are on the dark web. One of the most popular is Facebook. Users can connect, post and share, and protect their identity. So, the primary role of the dark web isn't actually dark. It allows us to maintain our privacy while we search, read, watch, and express ourselves.
It allows the users to do truly anonymous browsing. It allows users to circumvent any censorship. It allows journalists to post content in maybe repressive regimes or countries that may restrict the internet.
Don't get me wrong, there is a dark side to the dark web. And it's probably what you thought when we mentioned it earlier, crime. There are criminals on the dark web, from viruses to murders for hire. But what do you need to do to protect yourself?
It's many of the same defenses as you would use on the surface web or even physical crime. Don't talk to strangers. Don't go in dark places unless you really need to be there and know what you're doing and have someone with you. The idea here is you're not just going to stumble onto the dark web. It takes effort to get on the dark web. I want to highlight there's an enormous amount of good that comes out of these networks, both the deep web and the dark web. But unfortunately, the bad or the nefarious actors and the criminals get the most of the attention, and it tarnishes the reputation of the dark web.
Practicing good cybersecurity and being cognizant of its risk and rewards will lead to better use of the dark web.
The more we understand what it is and how to use it, I think more good could come out of it and more information can be shared.
Still a little confused? I know it's a lot to digest at one time. I found an illustration that was helpful when it comes to understanding the depth of the web. Now, the internet is sort of like a glacier. Most of us only see and use about 4% of the web. That's your social media sites and your normal browsing. But when it But when you look a little bit deeper down, you can see this massive chunk known as the dark and the deep web. That's a part of the internet that we're looking at, that you can see the criminals and the bad actors can be found. So 90% of the web that we see, Veronica, is something that most of us can't even access.
Yeah, you know, I've been on the dark web apparently now for the past, 2 or 3 minutes, and I can't find the Silk Road. So how does it work?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
It's a very complicated process, and it takes you to go through various amounts of sites. It takes you to kind of have a couple of clearances, like the government exists on the dark web, but then the deep web is where those bad actors can be found.
So crazy. Yeah, you were telling me how it is actually really, really complicated, and then a lot of criminals will just break down the sites as soon as they're built.
Yeah, break them down, build them back up, and do that cycle over and over again. So be careful.
Yeah. All right, Stephen, thank you.
Yeah.